It's time for the Access of Easy podcast, the weekly technology digest that keeps you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by EasyDNS.com.
Okay, now it's recording. I edit. All right.
Well,
Good
there's nothing to
afternoon,
edit out.
evening, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Axis of Easy, number 378. Sorry, 376. I'm Len the Legend, and I'm joined here today by Praveen. And people watching know Joey didn't get a wicked tan. That's making me jealous. But Praveen, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Appreciate you coming on to take Joey's spot, because Joey, for people who are unaware, he and his lovely wife are now new parents, and they gave birth to a lovely girl this past week. And with that, he's going to be taking time off to deal with the new parental duties, which is going to be fun for him. You're a recently new parent yourself, so you understand what it's all about. Is that your first child, by the way, Praveen?
First one. It's been 2.5 months,
So you know what it's like. The first one is a lot of fun, a lot of work, and he's going through these sleepless nights or less sleepless days. He's going through them right now, so you know what it's all about. So good for him, and congratulations to you as well. I don't think I've ever congratulated you on video or in person yet. One day we'll say hello again in person. So I want to just thank you for taking time to come out here. For people who aren't aware who you are, Praveen, you're in the IT field.
Yep.
You understand security, you understand privacy. So this stuff is up your alley, right?
Yep.
So do a good job. You could replace me, and that's the hope. One day they could. That's what you call an upgrade. So, anyways, with that. Oh, sorry.
You're in IT too, right?
No, I'm semi-retired. We'll just say it. Leave it at that. Okay. And the quote of the week was, "Peace is not absence of conflict. It is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means." And that was by none other than Ronald Reagan. Nobody got it last week. So the quote for this week is, "Without passion, you don't have energy. Without energy, you have nothing." Who is that? Well, if you know the answer to that without searching, without looking it up, if you have that information in your head, post it in the blog post below. And if you do that and you provide the right answer, the next round of the main or hosting is on EasyDNS. Praveen, do you have any idea who made that comment, who said it back in the day?
No idea.
Yeah, neither do I. So we're 0 for 2 right here. Either way. All right, let me know if you're ready to dive in, because we got 5 exciting stories to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Lazarus Group. And it's a group that we talk about quite often here on the Axis of Easy. And it looks like they're doing a new sophisticated cyber attack technique. And of course, this is done by the Lazarus Group. And this is the group that has linkages to North Korea. And this group is now targeting macOS users by exploiting a lesser known feature called extended attributes. And extended attributes are additional metadata tags that can be attached to files on macOS systems. And these are basically used for storing file system information. And the Lazarus Group has figured out a way to conceal and execute malicious code within that. And this is done by embedding these malicious scripts within these attributes. And what results is they could bypass traditional security measures, and the code gets executed without any raising alarm for the end user. Furthermore, this group is also crafting up fake job offers from exchanges like Coinbase, and they're throwing that out there to try to lure unsuspecting users into downloading and opening up malicious PDF documents. And once these documents are opened, triggers execution of the hidden malware and granting the attackers unauthorized access to the victim's computers. But one thing of note is Apple's Gatekeeper, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Typically does stop this, but the user has to do an override on this. And now if they do an override to stop this type of thing, to allow for unsigned or unnotarized applications from running, then it allows for the Lazarus malware to make its way in the computer. But if you let the Apple Gatekeeper do its thing without overriding it, I think it stops this kind of stuff, Praveen. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the thing is that the Gatekeeper is, like, I have to override it so many times. Like, I just got a new computer, so I just installed set it up like a couple hours ago. And even for my terminal, I use Alacrity. I have to override that because for whatever reason, it's not signed or whatever. So it's not a great it works obviously if you don't override it, but the problem is, especially developers, people doing more stuff with their computer, they're gonna probably override it all the time. So, um, I wouldn't be surprised if people just overrode it and didn't think much of it.
What's an example of people overriding it? Why would they do that? Like, just give me like a specific example why somebody would do it.
I'm not exactly. Well, it's. I'm not exactly sure. Basically, it has something to do with like the way Apple does notarizes apps, and most apps these days, a lot of apps are like notarized, or obviously if you get them from the Apple App Store, you don't have to override this gatekeeper thing. But I don't even know why anymore. It's just I do it all the time. But Alacrity is a good example. Well known terminal, works on Linux and Mac OS. When you open it, Apple says this is not signed or whatever, like, and says, "Do you want to move it to the trash?" The only way to open it is to go into settings, go into security, and say basically open anyway, right? That's the one that's sticking out in my head right now because that's the one I just did recently. Because once you do it once, you don't have to do it every time you open it. But I do know for a fact that I've done this many times.
Do you think Apple could do a better job at preventing these PDFs or these malicious codes from being run behind the scenes? Do you think the Apple Gatekeeper could maybe be changed, advanced, or a different interface can be put in between the user and the operating system?
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, I think it has some. The reason some developers don't notarize their apps and stuff is because they have to pay the $99 a year. I think you have to pay that to. And these are all free apps, right? So some people are like, I'm not paying $99 to go through Apple's system. I think that's the reason.
Got it.
So I don't know. The answer is like if you let anybody go through their system without paying, then like they're taking on the cost, right? Is this fixed now? Like, are they? Because like from what I read, a big problem was the X adders like section of the code or in binaries was kind of just ignored. I guess nobody's done this before, so I don't know if it might be fixed now, right?
If it hasn't, I haven't come across any information that it has. If it hasn't yet, it should be coming out soon. Apple, to their credit, they're very active at going out there to try to close these backdoors, these anything that's getting exposed to make their operating system less secure. So I suspect this, if it hasn't yet been released, a patch should be coming out relatively soon. And typically, I'm not a Mac OS user, so I'm going to pick your brain. How does these updates, how do they work? Do they just come automatically over the air and then it's automatically updated, or you have to be proactive and say yes, install?
No, it pops up saying, do you want to update or not, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like my friend's Tesla.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's different levels of protection, right? Like the gatekeeper that you can override, all that does is basically filters if it's been through the Apple system and notarized by them, right? So there are very legitimate applications that haven't been notarized by them, haven't been through their systems, so you have to override. So,
Got it.
But that's not the only. I know they have background like basically virus scanning that will just not give you an option; it'll just delete it. So from what I've read, that part wasn't detecting it because the adders part, like nobody thought you could use it for malware, I guess.
So for people out there, make sure that you're diligently using the gatekeeper. You're not selecting stuff that shouldn't be given privileges, and also don't open up PDFs. Don't open up anything that comes to you unless you truly know that it's legitimate from a secure and reliable source, because you never know, you might get pwned later on. But yeah. Hot topic.
I think that's it's a good that's good advice because you like people get used to saying override because you have to, but just keep in mind every time you do hit that override button, that is a risk. So only hit it if you definitely know you got it from the right place, GitHub or wherever, and it's not some random place that shouldn't be trusted.
So hey, now we're going really deep in this topic here, but I guess one last question: can you undo something that's been done by gatekeeper? Say you say yes, override it, I want to go ahead, but could you go back later on and say, I want to change that, I don't want it to be giving access to my computer somehow?
I don't believe so. Basically, before you override it, when you open the app, instead of opening it, just there's like an alert saying, this hasn't been notarized. If you go and it's kind of difficult to override because like you have to know where to go. But if you hit override, it just lets you open the app. That's it. And yeah,
got it. All right, let's talk about Hot Topic Inc. I never heard about this company before. For people who are unaware, just like me, because obviously I live under a rock, I don't know what the heck's going on in this world. This is an American fashion company specializing in counterculture-related clothing and accessories, as well as licensed music. That's from Wikipedia, so it may or may not be right. I assume it is, but either way. But one thing they are not specializing in is securing your data, because there has been a data breach at Hot Topic, and this is a pretty significant security incident. It exposed the personal information of approximately 57 million customers, and this breach occurred last year in October, and 2023 that is. And the data could go back as far as 2021 of that's been exposed. So it's been over a very long period of time. What's been essentially stolen here includes information like email addresses, encrypted credit card numbers, physical addresses, and so forth. And the breach was allegedly carried out by a threat actor known as Satanic, and they gained access through Hot Topic systems through an employee's infected device, and they were able to exploit a vulnerability in the cloud-based data management platform Snowflake, and they stole the sensitive information that way. And the stolen information ended up on the dark web, so you know this information is going to be misused somehow once it's stolen. And with respect to the credit card information that was encrypted, the encryption method was pretty crappy. It was relatively weak, so essentially it defeats the purpose of encryption in the first place. And on top of this, Hot Topic even doesn't publicly acknowledge that the breach took place. And it just goes to show you can't trust these guys or a bunch of people out there with your information. So people are recommended, if you are a customer or have been a customer of them in the past, monitor your accounts for suspicious activities, your financial accounts, credit cards, etc. Because if you don't, who knows, you could be in the receiving end of something. So I'm not sure if you want to add anything to this one. And have you been a customer of Hot Topic too?
No, I think Hot Topic is like a teenage goth girl type.
So clearly it's not
right?
you then.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's the image that pops up. I know that they have stores in Canada too. I remember it was at my local mall. I didn't even know they were still around, to be honest.
They're not going to be around longer if they keep up like this. But it's just like, it goes to show you, this is just not just like every company out there. They have a treasure trove of information on their customers, and it's incumbent on them to make sure that this information doesn't end up in malicious actors' hands. So I'm not sure moving forward what's the best option. You might want to maybe give pseudonames, or when you create an account, or I'm not sure, because a lot of people, when they open up an online account, you have to give your name, your credit card information and stuff. And I don't know if there's a way around that unless you use maybe a prepaid credit card and give a fake information, fake name or something. But
well, a lot of credit cards these days, or not a lot, at least some, let you do a bunch of virtual ones. So I guess you could probably have a virtual card per store type of deal. I think Apple Card lets you do that. My business account lets you do that. So that might be one thing, but you just got to stay on top of it. At least the credit card companies are good at, catching. They sometimes catch it, but they're good at least giving your money back. Just never use a debit card online.
Why not? I'm just curious, because I'm not much of an online shopper. I want to hear your thoughts on why one shouldn't use it.
So I used to work at a bank too. So this is coming from both sides. So when you use a credit card, you never lose the money, right? Because it's a credit. The bank will refund it before you even have to pay it back. Debit card, the money's gone right away, and then you have to wait for their whole process to get your money back. So just a rule of thumb, never use debit cards online.
Got it. So essentially the risk is going to be on the credit card company versus the bank, which impacts you more so than...
Yeah. With the credit card, it's basically their problem. You let them know as soon as possible, and it's their money, their problem. They'll deal with it. Debit card, it's your money, and you're at their whim, basically, to when you get your money back.
Do you think by using credit cards a lot more, it drives up the prices of stuff because there's a fee associated with it that the merchants have to pay? So they're going to pass it on to us. So do you think that ultimately creates more cost for us as a consumer?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, you can get a percentage of that back with the credit card rewards, but that ship has sailed. I don't think it's just too convenient. What's the fees like on debit card? I think it's less, right?
I think so, and I think it varies between Canada and the United States. I'm not sure. I'm not much of an online shopper, to be honest. My wife does everything. I'm just like a sponge over here. I just do nothing. I'm semi-retired, obviously, you know. So, anyways, let's move on. We'll talk about Google's AI platform. It's interesting. It's the LLM, the Google Vertex AI, and they've been designing for enterprise to train and deploy custom large language models, and this is for their AI applications. And it was found to have security vulnerabilities within it, and these vulnerabilities have allowed hackers and attackers out there to gain access and steal sensitive information and data, including proprietary enterprise LLMs themselves. And the researchers that discovered this identified two main flaws here. So one was the privileged escalation and also the model exfiltration. And the privileged escalation refers to the vulnerability that could be exploited by an attacker to gain high levels of access within the system that they were initially designed for and authorized to be used. So in context, the Google Vertex AI, this could allow attackers to gain access, basic access to gain control over administration functions. So the other vulnerability, the model exfiltration, is the unauthorized copying and removal of data. This could be nasty. And in this case, it allows data attackers to steal proprietary enterprise LLMs that was trained on the Vertex AI. And they could use this for malicious purposes like generating disinformation and launching cyber attacks. Disinformation is a topic that we discuss often on the show, and just the roots of that just drives us nuts. Anyways, it goes to show you that the complexity of this is rather high, and it's as these systems get more complex, the amount of security holes and for attackers to gain access, they just get larger and larger. Google, they're pretty known for just being pretty good at closing these things, but unfortunately, this one has been leaked and it's now in the wild. So I haven't heard anything about closing this loophole as of yet. But I don't know if you want to add anything to this. This is a pretty interesting story, but it's not. Yeah. I don't think it's going to impact us directly, so to speak.
It's Vertex AI, not Vortex. But
Vertex. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
my bad.
What was I gonna? Yeah. So at first I was confused at what this was saying. So Vertex AI, it just basically lets you run AI models on Google's hardware. At first, I thought it was like breaking containment. So I thought that meant you could break your containment and
then get access to somebody else's.
That's not what's happening. Basically, you would have to download an infected model, and that infected model would be able to exfiltrate your data. But from what I read, it seems the data that can be exfiltrated is their proprietary models, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So bad for company secrecy, not really affecting us that much.
Do you have any less respect for Google after this? You're not a big Google fan to begin with, right? Like you're just
no, I don't,
neutral at best.
Yeah, I don't love Google, but no, I feel like these type of things they're gonna happen. I don't know if this has been exploited. It's probably already been fixed because it was by researchers, so they probably did responsible disclosure. Probably been fixed by the time the story came out. But no, this doesn't seem. This doesn't seem like one of those stories that they weren't even trying.
Still screw Google, yeah. Right? They're trying to steal all our data. Yeah, of course. Just because you're trying to get all our data and sell it, that's their job. But anyways, let's talk about this Iranian dream job campaign. The Iranian dream job. I love this.
Yeah, this is a funny one.
It's a sophisticated cyber attack, and it was launched by Iranian threat actors. I don't even want to say their names because it's just a bunch of letters and numbers. They're targeting aerospace industries with fake job offers. And this has been active since September 2023, this campaign, and it's causing them potential to compromise sensitive information and disrupt critical operations within the aerospace sector. And the MO of this campaign is to use social engineering tactics where the attackers impersonate legitimate recruiters of professional networking platforms like LinkedIn, and they reached out to individuals in the aerospace industry, aviation, defense, and so forth, and they try to entice them with job offers, often tailored to specific skills and experiencing a particular target. And once the victim expresses interest in it, the attacker sends a malicious zip file disguised as a job offer. You know what happens at this point? They open it up, it grants access to the computers and it just is game on at that point. It looks like they're targeting specific people in the UAE, Turkey, India, Albania, and so forth. So Iran is very active in the cyber attack space. And given that they have a lot of enemies out there, it's interesting that this is being done. But against Turkey and India, there is a connection between Iran and those countries. They're part of BRICS.
Yeah.
Right? It just seems like it's kind of strange that they would meet. I understand they want to get information, but they have a friend or friends, I guess, but they're turning their back on them, so to speak. It just seems like an interesting story.
Yeah, I think they're always spying on each other anyway. I'm not surprised. Friends,
Yeah.
tentative friends. This is an interesting one because I wonder if people are less likely to less likely to tell their employers because then it looks like they were looking for another job. I wonder if there's like an angle there that helps social engineering somehow. Because you're not doing legitimate this is not something you'd run into doing legitimate business purposes on your work laptop. It's looking for another job, right? And people are usually very cagey about that. They don't want their current employers to know.
And they didn't. I don't want to dox you or anything, but you're in the U.S. and they didn't send you anything. You didn't get any emails or job offers. I don't know if you work in the defense or
no.
But...
No, I ignore everything on LinkedIn anyway. That sucks.
Do you have an account?
Oh yeah.
It's time to delete it, I think.
Yeah, that place is the worst. It's like everybody there is either using ChatGPT or they're not, but they still sound like ChatGPT. It's the worst place ever.
I think I'm one of the very few holdovers that never got an account.
No,
and I don't think I ever will. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
The last story, and I hopefully you could give some insight in this. It's the Texas House Bill 20, and this is known as the Social Media Censorship Act, a very controversial piece of legislation, and it was passed in 2021. And it's aimed to regulate the content moderation practices of large social media platforms within the state of Texas. And the law has been subject to debate and legal challenges because of the fact it may impinge on free speech and the First Amendment. And the key provisions, there's prohibition on censorship of views. So people that they want to say something, media platforms, they can potentially censor user content. Then there's moderation, transparency, and the private right of action. These are the things that are part of it. Either way, there's a lot of people that are arguing in favor of this HB 20 bill. They say the fact that it protects free speech, accountability for big tech, preserves Texas values, but they're saying that this also there's burdens a lot of small businesses, and there's a lot of legal uncertainty because there's a challenge for this company by name of NetChoice, and it's a trade association representing tech companies and computer and communication industry association. They filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas, saying that this violates the First Amendment and the Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. And apparently this was not going to go through, but the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned that ruling from a federal court saying they couldn't go ahead with it. So this court case is still pending, and a lot could impact free speech within the great state of Texas. I'm not sure if you heard about this or the lawsuit or anything. I've never heard of this, to be honest. It's the first I've read about it.
No, I haven't heard this specific one, but I have lots of thoughts on this because
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean this is like the woke right? Like this law is passed to protect free speech, and like, yeah, you know what? I'm with them at the heart of it. Yeah, let's get those X, Facebook, YouTube people who have been trampling on people's free speech and hitting people for their political beliefs, but this is a terrible law. Well, like, and the left always does this, where basically, they'll make laws that sound good without thinking of the second order effects of, and then how it could be used against you when you're not in power. And now the right's doing the same thing, right? Like this bill can definitely be used to screw you over if the left gets power in Texas, which hopefully never happens. But it's dumb, like this sounds like a good law right now because they're in power. We're doing this for the good of free speech, but like, let's think about the second order effects and see where this could lead. Especially when, are you comfortable with giving your political enemies this law? Because I don't think you would be.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And if you say that, if you answer to no to that, then obviously the law itself is not very good, and you wouldn't want to see it put in place and impact you negatively. Is that's what happens. It's like you say, it seems all in good until it impacts you, until you get you're on the receiving end of something. Then you realize, oh crap, this isn't the way it should be enforced.
And then another example of this is all the porn laws. There's like a few states that have you basically need ID, and like it's for the kids, right? Like you don't want kids watching porn, which obviously I completely agree with. But the right has been fighting against digital ID for whatever number of years, right? And social credit scores and all that. But then they just bring this law that's basically a digital ID law, or at least the beginning of it, and just dress it in social issues that they agree with, and everyone's for it now.
Yeah, here in Canada, same thing is happening. The Conservatives are trying to push for that. A digital age of, you have to supply your age when you go to some of these adult websites. The Liberals are against that.
Yeah.
So it's funny that the Conservatives here are trying to push for more intervention, and the Liberals are against that. You would expect it the opposite.
But the Liberals will push for the exact same law in in a different way. I think they had a similar one for probably like hate speech or something. Like we need ID to verify who's being hateful on the internet or something dumb like that. But like it's just like I don't know if this is a show, but I consider myself to be more conservative person, and it's just really annoying when like your quote unquote your side does not see that like they're bringing in the same laws just dressed in something you agree with. Like, come on, let's think a little deeper about these things.
And with that, Praveen, I think we're done with today's show. You're done. You have been broke your cherry. We'll have your cherry in this one. So I hope you enjoyed it. So you'll be back next week, I assume, right?
Yep. Did you find someone for the third week?
Yeah, I have somebody in mind, and it's going to be a special guest. Not that you're not special, but we have another special one lined up. So with that, I want to thank you, Praveen, for joining us, and we'll be back at this next week. So take care.
All right. See you then.